Look, there's never going to be such thing as a perfect company. So for those who have these crazy expectations in the wrestling industry that WWE or AEW or Impact or New Japan or all these companies, they're not going to be flawed. You're wrong. They're going to have flaws. Now, the thing is, in order for these companies to actually improve, one, they have to be willing to listen, and two, they got to be willing to understand that they're flawed. And I find this to be a very interesting situation because there's a story right now about AEW wrestlers not being happy based on the MJF stuff. And there's another AEW wrestler who apparently isn't happy, and we'll kind of talk about that in just a moment. There's multiple stories in this video, so stay tuned for everything. You're not going to want to miss it. A lot of contract talk, a lot of big things happening. But also, we got to get to the bottom of this drama. For those who are unaware, Meltzer basically wrote in the recent newsletter that one superstar, one wrestler in AEW, had noted being very unhappy about believing that playing games with talent and keeping executives in the dark on key issues were something that they had hoped this company would never do, and one even called it sloppy work that in the long run will benefit nobody. Now, this is obviously in reference to wrestlers being left in the dark in regards to what is actually happening with MJF. In fact, a lot of people do not even believe that this is something that is legit because it's wrestling, but there's a lot of people, because it's wrestling, think it could be legit. So it's a very tricky situation, and talent are obviously not happy about not knowing what's happening. I also think it's a very interesting situation because there's a couple factors here that AEW, if this is legitimate, AEW is doing a good job at making it look legitimate, right? Which is removing MJF from the website, the shop website, the roster page, and then, of course, removing him from social media. So the idea that AEW at this point in time could have a potential storyline, that's cool, but it took 2 years to get to the Wardlow payoff, and the talk is MJF. They did not need to do this. If that was the plan, if the plan was to work, everybody, they did not need to do this. So, of course, everybody's going to have their opinion, work, shoot, what is it? I don't know. But there's talent in AEW that are unhappy, and then this is where we bring in Thunder Rosa, because there is actually some really strange stuff being said about Thunder Rosa. What Culture had reported last night that the AEW Women's World Champion had become frustrated on how little she has been seen on screen, including this past weekend on Dynamite, where there was no mention of her title defense against Serena Deeb at Sunday's Double or Nothing pay-per-view. Which, by the way, if this report is accurate or not, it's the truth. She is the world champion in AEW. Okay, there's two world champions. You got Thunder Rosa and you got CM Punk. And they kick off with CM Punk. They talk about CM Punk. CM Punk's the world champion. CM Punk gets the promo ability. Thunder Rosa doesn't get that same opportunity. I would be upset. I would be bothered by that. But now what's really interesting is the Wrestling Observer newsletter had actually said Rosa was actually booked for a segment on Dynamite, but then left the Kia Forum in Los Angeles due to illness. This was something that was also that came out from PW Insider. So two sources had talked about this. Now, Thunder Rosa will be making her debut on Busted Open Radio, and we should get some updates there. But if Thunder Rosa is upset because of not getting used, talent is not upset backstage. If talent is backstage, if there are talent backstage that are upset about the MJF stuff, basically what I'm saying here, what I'm suggesting, is that AEW needs to figure it out. You don't want unhappy talent. You want your talent in the mix. You do not want to have the same reputation as WWE in that regards. I am not justifying this by saying, oh, well, WWE has done it. And because WWE has done it, AEW can do it. AEW came out as a company in the very beginning and said they were going to be different than WWE. They said they were going to be different on the backstage stuff as well as what's there, in terms of the, the product. So I've gotten to a point with AEW, like, I just want them to, like, fix this stuff. You know what I mean? I just want them to fix this stuff. I really don't want to see AEW wrestlers go to WWE either, right? As much as I didn't want to see WWE wrestlers go to AEW, I don't want to see AEW wrestlers really go to WWE. There's maybe a very small amount of people, just like I enjoy Bryan Danielson in AEW, I enjoy Cody Rhodes in WWE. But, like, guys like Ricky Starks, Jade Cargill, there's a lot of people out there that I would like for them to just be on the top of AEW. And so my feelings go both ways. But the only way they're going to be able to make that work is by fixing whatever issues they may have. All right, guys. Jay White is reportedly done with Impact. I found this to be very interesting stuff. So for those who don't know what's happening, Jay White was appearing on Impact, but now, unfortunately, due to scheduling stuff, it doesn't appear to be the case. So Jay White has been working Impact. Obviously, there's been a lot of great stuff between Impact and New Japan in the recent years. And honestly, like this is kind of a blow for Impact. As a huge fan of Impact, I understand that nothing is permanent, especially with Jay White, Forbidden Door, potentially AEW as well. If there's one thing about Impact that I think they need to do is figure out long-term stuff, because W. Morrissey's only been there for less than a year and he's gone. Jay White, not been there much longer, not very long at all. We have gotten to a point where like the Forbidden Door is cool for like right now. But when it comes to like long-term success, like for AEW, Impact, or New Japan, like aside from bringing like some good matches here and there, I don't think they could really craft storylines that are long-term. And the reason for this is because the way NJPW Strong is taped, the way Impact Wrestling is taped, and the way AEW is taped, they're all taped differently. So to have storylines coincide with each other, it's a very difficult task. So that is something I just wanted to mention as well, because Jay White being gone, yeah, I knew it was never going to be a permanent thing. But at the same time, too, people who are watching Impact, maybe they're a new viewer for Impact because of New Japan or because of W. Morrissey. To see them no longer there, I think that does hurt the company as well. As a big fan of Impact, that would be like the one thing I would like for them to change is like, hey, maybe like announce how long these people will be with. I don't know. There's not a lot of talk about contract stuff, but like had people known, hey guys, like we have signed Jay White, or we have agreed on a deal with Jay White, or with NJPW and Jay White, which will see him in Impact for 6 months. Like, at least people know ahead of time, like, hey, 6 months is coming. Maybe they'll resign, maybe they'll do something else, but for right now, they don't, All right, guys, and how much money did Stokely Hathaway turn down from WWE? Malcolm Bivens, obviously a huge conversation piece for AEW because of the fact that he is now managing the baddies. So basically what was mentioned is that Stokely Hathaway was offered a $250,000 salary to be called up to the main roster. And obviously he turned that down because now he's the manager of Jade Cargill and the baddies. Now, I also want to point out, just for clarification purposes, a lot of people had talked about Stokely Hathaway managing Omos, because there was a report that came out months and months ago. Stokely Hathaway actually went on social media at one point and denied that, just so you guys know. So now at this point, just so everybody's aware, like $250,000 to manage Omos is not necessarily the case. If he was offered $250K, I think that's a lot of money. But also at the end of the day, like, I don't know what everybody's contract is in WWE's main roster. So nonetheless, I don't know what he got offered in AEW. It must have been good, because now he is managing. Jade Cargill. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time.